When my boy Kabe dropped the lip-syncing Two Faces line, I absolutely lost it. I thought, if that ain't a title for a video, I don't know what is. But holy shit, the way this show has continuously played with Kongming's ways of his old kind of military tactics, but then applying it to a girl just trying to get popular with singing. That's essentially the easy way to explain the plot of this show. It's interesting, right? Because the idea of this arrows, right? The idea that back in the day he had to deliver 100,000 arrows, which was an impossible task, but the guy was trying to get rid of them. And the idea of using straw people and sending boats to basically the shore, you collect all the arrows because they think they're shooting people. So they're going to waste 100,000 arrows or in that ballpark, and then you can deliver it and make them look like a fool. And the idea of essentially using the exact same strategy, but using it with QR codes, is something I never thought I'd see in anime, or something as insane as this with modern kind of technology and things like that. But the idea of this insanely popular masked idol group, right? The idea that they can spend $1 million because they have so much money, and spending money to make even more money and become even more popular makes sense for them. They don't have the financial flow themselves to do it, but they can piggyback off that. So the idea of gaining 70,000 likes just in a matter of minutes, right? Because you're using their QR code, you're using all the things that's building up. But of course it wasn't going to stop there. Even though for like a minute, I think around the 50,000 mark, I was like, okay, this might actually get 100,000 before they come in. But then I clued back into reality and wasn't swayed by the hype. Like, there has to be more. There has to be like a showdown. Something. So then to see the real group come in, and then they stopped at like, 99,000 or something before everything hit the fan. He could have gone very dirty. He could have gone divided and destroyed this group and shattered, but he didn't use his most underhanded tactic because he understands that Eiko values her as a friend, and there's other ways to win, even if it's not as guaranteed. So the idea of making that gamble of, having Kabe just lay the smackdown, lip-syncing Two Faces, you don't even know the real them. You for a while were thinking we were the real ones because you've never seen under the mask. The only way for them to prove who they are is to play for real, something they haven't done for years by the looks of it. And I think it's interesting because for someone like Eiko, if she was to beat Nanami, she would want to do it on real terms, actually going up against the talented and wonderful voice that she has, not some pre-recording. So the idea that if she wins or loses, as long as she's actually playing, as long as she has real music coming from her lips, then that's fine for her. Because I truly think if, say next week comes around and it turns out that this group ends up beating our duo here, I don't think she'll be disappointed in the way that, oh man, we feel cheated because some fake machine-generated bullshit did it. Instead, she would be proud of her friend for being real for once. However, it does feel like we're still going to see the victory here because, ultimately, is the crowd going to reward them for bullshitting them the whole time? It's hard to say. In reality, of course, the crowd would reward them because that's just how humanity is. In a show, however, with interesting morals, I would say probably not, but only time will tell. Either way, probably his best plan to date. I'm not gonna lie, I think no one else could have pulled it off, and you have to be a Kongming to be able to do it. But holy shit, what an insane way. Like, first using one of their own songs, dropping the QR code, everything about it was just so well done, and the crowd absolutely hates both sides right now. Most definitely they hate Eiko's side a bit more because of everything, but I digress. But it was an amazing episode for sure, and I think one of the things that caught me by surprise the most early on was the idea of tuning the instruments, because you see the three girls, and they're tuning their instruments. You're thinking, well, why are they tuning? They don't play their instruments live, who the hell cares? And one of the side people, the crew people, make a jab, why the hell are you tuning your instruments? You're not even playing live. And this man beats the fool with his cane, saying, don't disregard their feelings, they have their passions, basically step in line. And I think that's what makes him such an interesting character, because there's definitely a lot of people who just straight up hate him and say, oh, he's an evil character, but he's not. He's a businessman. Ultimately, in order to make the world go round, you need to make money, and he's a money-making machine, and what he does is successful. However, the fact that he hasn't disregarded, what they actually feel about music and recognize, hey, you agreed, you want to be popular, follow my rules, but he still lets them feel like they are connected. He still gives them that opportunity. And for some people, they'll say that's not enough, but it's not like he pointed a gun to their head. It's not like he pointed a gun and said, you have to join up with me. He could have took anyone off the street and done what he did, but he gave them an opportunity, right? So the fact is, he's not evil. He's just a businessman whose heart hasn't completely shrunk. There's still a little bit of empathy there. And it's interesting to see because you never would have expected that based on some of the earlier actions that he's shown us in the show. But for an episode about all being real and stuff, I thought it was interesting to sneak it in here before everything hit the fan, because I'm honestly not going to be shocked in the slightest if next week comes around and he says, play for real. It's not even going to be their decision. He might even let them. He might even encourage them to do so. But I guess time will tell. One of the more visually impressive episodes for me, I definitely loved what they did with the fog and the background detail. For one, the idea of fog is such an interesting way. Right now, we're dealing with unmasking the truth and showing people's real identity. We have our crew covered in their hoods and hats. They are covered in their masks and outfits. And the fact that it's a foggy day and no one knows what's real, they can't really see in front of them. It's just such a good visual storytelling aspect for this episode, as they once again just really impressed me with numerous background details, just really saying like, goddamn, if that ain't a wallpaper, I don't know what is. Definitely one of the strongest episodes for sure, just because even though you expected them to get close to 100,000, if not get to it this week, at least that's how I was feeling, I still had absolutely no idea, because they always kick the episode off in the exact same way. A little historical backstory of like what happened to the man back in the day, or just establishing something similar. And then to see the arrows, I think the arrows was just such a brilliant way, because who in the actual hell could write a story and look at Kongming as a character and take the 100,000 arrow plan and turn that into a QR code match? Whoever the hell wrote this manga, that's who, and that's a pretty brilliant big brain way to twist Three Kingdoms on its head and turn it into a modern story, which is pretty fantastic. I mean, overall, this show has been consistent quality. It's definitely still one of the best of the season, which is still saying a hell of a lot, because pretty much all the great shows for the season have remained to be at the very least solid, so it's not like it's a season where a lot of stuff dipped after a few episodes. Most shows, I feel like, ended up getting progressively bettered or stayed at the quality that they started at. So to see a show like this still find new ways to get those spikes of quality, it's nice, right? Because when you really look at the performances, especially on Eiko's side, the way she can take someone's song now that's not hers, and for all intents and purposes, it's so fake on the live stage, but then she turns it into something that's so amazing, and it just seeps into your soul in such a careful way. I just love what this show's able to do with music, and like I mentioned, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks back, give or take, it kind of gave me that Carol and Tuesday vibe when they were initially performing on the street. And there's just something about the way they're presenting the actual music side of things, whether it's the rapping, whether it's the singing, whether it's the more idol pop rock songs. They're just doing a hell of a good job to make this show stand out on its own 2 legs. And holy shit, I still want a season 2, but I'm glad we got what we got here. But thoughts, if you have any theories, if you got any down below, leave a like if you enjoyed and subscribe if you're new around here. Until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.